What is more important than George Floyd? The Democratic Party. Today I watched the press conference by Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison. You might remember him as the man who famously got sworn into office on a Koran, which many people misremember as Obama. Even though he's a former defense attorney, from all accounts he's done a decent job as Attorney General for Minnesota. If you read any news summaries from Wednesday's press conference, you saw that they're pursuing second-degree murder charges against the police officer who had his knee on the neck of George Floyd, and other charges against the 3 other police milling around the scene when George Floyd died. That's the mainstream news. After AG Ellison explained how they were going to prosecute the officers, he took questions. I was pleased to watch the sign language interpreter. Her facial expressions are part of the language, so when Ellison said there will be no first-degree charges, she made a face as part of the signing. Well, at least it was interesting to me. So Ellison starts taking questions from the reporters. Unlike most of his prior press conferences, there are national reporters present. I keep waiting for the question. It's so obvious. It never comes. Here is the question no reporter asked. AG Ellison, what official is being asked to resign for this incident? Think of what would be happening right now if the Minnesota police chief was Republican. They would be demanding that he resign. The Department of Justice will be opening an investigation on how racist their police department was. If the mayor of Minneapolis was Republican, there would be calls for them to resign. Governor Tim Walz is a member of the Democratic Farmer Labor Party. If he were Republican, Democrat officials from across the nation would be demanding he resign, for appearance's sake, if anything. If the Minnesota AG was Republican, that would be the first question up. Heck, they'd probably be burning the home of the city coroner right now and demanding he resign too. Instead, nothing. Ellison announced no resignations. Not a single reporter thought of the question. Or they did think of it, but knew better not to ask. They're all Democrats in the room, Minnesota officials and reporters, and the reporters' Democrat editors back in the newsroom. They are all Democrats, unified in party, ideology, and intent. No one asked for anyone to resign, no one expected anyone to resign, and no reporter dared ask if anyone should resign from the city of Minneapolis, the county it's in, or the state of Minnesota. So there you have it, my friends. Black lives should matter, but the political power of the Democratic Party matters more. The Democratic Party trumps all. It's more important than justice. It's more important than right or wrong. It's more important than the appearance of impropriety. No Democrat ever need resign when a racist incident like this occurs, because all Democrats are perfect and have no racism anywhere in their cities or states. So, a racist attack like this could not happen with an all-Democrat command structure. Someone should tell George Floyd that. Imagine if the mayor was Rudy Giuliani. Imagine if the governor was Chris Christie or Ron DeSantis. Imagine if the police chief were Bernie Kerik. Howls of outrage, endless marches demanding these officials resign. The hated and evil officials who oversaw the racism, instigated the racism, who promulgated the racism of Minnesota that caused this injustice, if they were Republican. Instead, nothing, because there's no Republicans running things there. And from the rioting mob, with no direction from above, silence. Absolute silence. No voices raised in ire at the state and local officials who caused this, or at least oversaw this injustice. Nothing from any of the protests. Not one member of a random, chaotic, looting, irrational mob is out there screaming for these Democrat officials to resign. Isn't that something? I thought these mobs were spontaneous in expressing themselves. Why must no Democrats resign? All of this is a Democrat sham to gin up support for the November elections, to help their local races, to push Joe Biden over the finish line. They are burning down their cities and opening stores and entire city blocks to looting and burning to the ground to get a few votes. And all they have to do is figure out how to blame the actions of one police officer on President Donald Trump. And I'll make a prediction. The search is already underway to find out whether this police officer in question was a Trump supporter. They'll be checking, is he a registered Republican? Was he ever pictured in public wearing a MAGA hat? Thousands upon thousands of Democrats in and out of government are probably already searching for that information, with joyous, ecstatic hope that they can use this tragic death in a Democrat-run blue state to defeat Donald Trump. Just as a sign of how things have changed, consider 30 years ago. No one cared to ask the police officers who assaulted Rodney King prior to the LA riots. No one asked the police officers who they voted for. No one asked Mark Fuhrman whether he supported Reagan or Bush. People didn't think that way back then. How politicized our country has become. These officials in the Democratic Party are out there rooting through every public and private record to see if that police officer ever supported Donald Trump or the Republican Party. In the minds of the divisive, polarizing Democratic Party, that knowledge would be gold. Another chance to divide America. Another chance to make Americans hate again. Your Democratic Party in action, folks.